What is going on, guys? This is Pinzo back with another video today, and what I have for you guys is going to be my comparison of Predecessor and Fault. For those of you who don't know, Predecessor had an open alpha weekend last weekend, and Fault is, of course, available on Steam. It's actually on sale right now for Halloween, so you guys can go pick it up for 40% off if you guys would choose to. But today we are just going to be going over and comparing them, things that I like from Predecessor, things that I like from Fault, and we're just going to be going over a couple different areas of both games. Starting us off is going to be the thing that I think separates the games the most, and that's the time to kill. In Predecessor, your time to kill is very fast, it's very punishing, and you have to position much better so as to not get caught out and insta-killed. Whereas in Fault, you have a lot more of counterplay potential. If you're caught out of position, then you do still have a chance because you can always try to turn that fight. They're not going to insta-kill you. You're going to have a second to react and try to fight back. And I think that's the number one thing that separates the two games. In Predecessor, your positioning matters a lot more just because if you're out of position, you will get punished much harder, much faster, whereas in Fault, you do have that reactionary time. Neither of these are necessarily bad, it's just a different take. If you are a Smite player, you're probably more used to Fault. In Fault, you aren't getting insta-killed. In Smite, you do have that reaction time. You have Beast, Aegis, and you have ways to get out. If you're a League player, then Predecessor might feel more at home. League is also very punishing. Your positioning matters a lot. You have to be in the right place at the right time, or the enemy carry is going to walk up to you and they're going to two-tap you and you're going to be sad. So I just figured I'd get that one out of the way first. I think that is the biggest disparity between the two games, and now we're going to get into some more of the actual details of each game. The first big thing we will be going over is going to be the item shop. Starting with Predecessor, the item shop was very clean. It looked very nice. The item art looked fantastic. It was very easy to navigate as well. And the items themselves felt very good. No items felt like they were bugging out. They all felt like they were actually doing their intended purpose, which was great to see, especially considering they had added about 100 items before closed alpha weekend. The only comment I have on Predecessor's items is that a couple of them felt very much overtuned and felt like must-buys if you wanted to win the game. So with those getting tuned down, I think you'll see a lot more build diversity come out, and that will be when Predecessor's item shop really takes off. As far as Fault's item shop goes, it's once again super easy to navigate. You have a search bar if you know what you're looking for. You have a filter system on the left side where you can just click a stat and it'll bring up all the items with that stat, and I think it's very good. The items themselves all feel balanced to me. I don't think there's any items in the game right now that I would say are inherently OP must-buys or you're going to lose. And that is a very good place to be. But that's going to be it for going over the item shops, and next we're going to be moving into gameplay. And just before we move into the gameplay section, I don't usually say this, but if you guys do enjoy the content, please do leave a subscribe. It means a lot to me, and it's just a button for you guys. About 90% of you guys who watch my videos are not subscribed, so just help a brother out. It really helps me know that you guys enjoy the kind of content that I'm making. Moving into the gameplay, starting with Predecessor, the game looked fantastic. I don't know what the exact difference was. The games honestly look fairly similar, but Predecessors just felt more vibrant. There was a lot more foliage. The map looked a little more fleshed out, and it looked fantastic. Only downside of that is if you didn't have a higher end computer, you kind of did get to see a lot of that on the lower settings, which is just a bummer. But beyond how the game looked, the gameplay felt really smooth. The only time that I felt gameplay that wasn't smooth is if you were using Gideon or Feng Mao's teleport ability. They both felt a little jerky on the camera movements, but that's just something that will get ironed out as the game gets better. As far as the gameplay itself, the game time, the game length felt pretty solid. My games were averaging about 30 minutes. I think that would go up a little once the community figures out how to play the game, but I don't think it'll go up a substantial amount. Of course, the Predecessor community is a little less practiced just because we don't get to play it a whole lot, and the transitions between the game stages felt a little weird, but I think that is once again just something that with time and knowledge the community will figure out when you transition from your laning phase into your team fighting, into pushing down towers and stuff like that. Will come with time. I hope that we will get to see this again. If I had to guess, we're going to see this the week after Thanksgiving. That's my bet. First weekend of December, and then we'll probably see it at the end around Christmas as well. I think we get 2 more weekends before the end of the year, and pray to the gods over at Omida Studio to let that happen. However, moving on to Fault gameplay, it's very good. There are very few things in the game that are jerky at this point. Most of it's been ironed out. At this point, the only thing that feels a little clunky is when new characters get added, but those are usually fleshed out within a week of when they hit the game. My only complaint about the Fault game right now is how long the games last. The game time is very long. Games average, 40, 45 minutes if you get into a good one, and I'd like to see that brought down to, 30 minutes, but that's just me. Some people really do like the longer games. They're a little grindier. It really feels like the team who wins more fights will win in those games, but I think you should be able to punish people earlier rather than having to wait till 40 minutes to actually be able to push into the core. But overall, both games really do feel great. They both feel a little different. So when we get to the point where we can play both, I'm sure that a lot of the community will pick their preference. But we just have to wait on that. Right now, of course, you can play Fault and you cannot play Predecessor. So either take what you get or don't throw a fit, that kind of thing. Moving into my last big point, we're going to talk about the map. Starting us off with Predecessor for the map, it's really good. The number one reason why is that it's not so linear. There's very, very few places in the map where you can go directly across from one lane to another. This is really good. What this does is causes rotations to take longer, which means you have to be in better spots for ganking and making rotations and things for Fangtooth or to duo lane, to get a good 4-man rotation to duo lane to get 2 kills and then Fang. That stuff's much harder with this map this way because you have to plan this out ahead of time. It's less reactionary and more proactive. Along with that, you do have the river buffs in the middle of the map, and I think these are just a really good addition. All of them felt really good. None of them felt super OP. The spawn on every odd minute is a little weird to me, but I actually don't mind it quite as much as I thought I would. In the normal creep camps, you also have 2 minions per camps instead of the 3 that Fault has. I like the 2 minions. It just feels a little better to clear. 3 feels a little weird, and I can't exactly explain why. I don't know. But I really liked the 2. The only complaint I have about Predecessor's map is Prime Pit and Fang Pit. They're offset, and I think this will lead to having a strong side and a weak side, and I think that's bad. I think that if you have a MOBA where your statistics of winning are not 50-50 because you load into the map on the wrong side, I think that's bad. Let's say we load into the map on blue side, and blue side has Prime Pit on its side. Well, in a MOBA like Predecessor, where you have Fangtooth that gives a team-wide buff that's very strong, you want to be on Fangtooth's side. Because if you can get those Fangtooths early and you're on the strong side, then it will rotate into the part where you have a lead going into the prime fights. So I personally think that Fangtooth's side would be the strong side jungle, and that it would statistically win more games. Of course, this weekend you didn't really see a whole lot of that. People were still figuring out the game. But as soon as you get to playing this at a higher level, I think it's going to be a problem. I think they both need to be dead center of the map, and you can figure out how to move the map around them. But overall, the map felt pretty good. I really liked it, and I only had one complaint, so that's not bad. Moving into Fault, the map is good. They have their Prime and Fang pits both very good. They're both centered on the map. The Fang pit does have entrances from both the duo lane side and from the mid lane side, which causes you to kind of have to pick a fight. It causes this dance around it, which I really like. The Prime Pit, of course, feels very good as well. You don't want to be stuck in it. If you're stuck in it and the enemy team shows up, you kind of just die, which is exactly how it should be. There's only one entrance. It's pretty narrow. Very few characters can get out different ways, and I think that that is a good thing with the Prime Pit. My only other complaint about the Fault map is that I think there needs to be something in the middle. They don't have river buffs, which means there's nothing to fight over in the middle of the map. If you're not fighting over Fang, then you're just clearing your own jungle, you're just clearing your waves, and I think that that needs to change. Right next to Fangtooth, on the middle lane side, I think you can put a camp there. Let's say it has 2 minions in it, they're a little tankier, they do a little more damage, but they give more gold and XP. This would give junglers, mid laners, even support something to fight over earlier in the game. I think that this could be a really good change to get more people more involved rather than essentially being AFK and just farming for the first 20 minutes of a match. But that's just me. I'm not a game dev, so we'll see if they like that idea. Other than that, the pathing in the jungle feels pretty solid. The entrances into the side lanes feel a little weird. They're both dead center and they're both the same. I wish that they were a little offset. You do have the around side on both sides, but I wish there were more paths or less paths. I think they need to make up their mind. As far as rotations go, there is a linear path from mid lane to both side lanes, and this causes rotations to be quicker. You can move faster, just causes you to have that reactionary period, which for a lot of players, they really like that. For me, I wish that you had to be a little more proactive. It would just cause people to have to use their 5 heads rather than just their WASDas to get the game done. But to be honest, both maps are really good for what they do for their games respectively. They are both different maps, but that is because they, of course, are both different games. I like them both, but we'll see which one gets changed, what happens to them. We'll see what happens in the future. Well, guys, those are the 3 areas that I was planning to go over today. The item shop, the gameplay itself, and the maps are going to be the main differentiating places between these games. I did not go over characters because, honestly, the characters in the games are pretty similar, and I'm not going to rant about how many characters aren't in the game. But that is all I've got for you guys today. So as always, if you did enjoy, please do leave it a like, a subscribe. Don't forget to comment. And as always, guys, I have been Pinzo. This video is Dunzo. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.